All right,
Okay,
recording.
and then I'm gonna take my leave. If you have any questions afterwards, I'm gonna send out some information on how to send the recording to us. I'll do that after.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, bye.
I'll be right back. I have an angry dog outside, which means there might be a bear outside.
Everyone's leaving us.
Welcome, Sam. I think Krista just joined us, and maybe Parker. Welcome. And Abby.
It was the dog that cried wolf.
Perfect.
Mm.
Perfect.
So, can we guess? Is it perhaps that Sam and Parker are twins? Or siblings? Or parent end?
It's my dad.
Nice.
That's great. It's really nice to have parents on these calls as well. Because when y'all come to our campus, it's fun to get to know prospective students and their families, because coming to Springfield really is a family event that we find that parents are, and the whole family is really active in all the events that happen on the weekends. And oftentimes what will happen is we'll have a student and like 3 years later, their sibling will also come to Springfield.
Or their parent has come to Springfield,
Okay.
or an
Mhm.
older sibling has come to Springfield. So
Yeah.
lots of legacies. So it's 7:01. I think we should give it a couple minutes, or should we get into it?
I would say, let's get into it, and maybe we could see some people.
Let's get into it.
Parker, can you hear? Are you able to hear? No.
Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. And
Frozen.
if you wouldn't mind, I can do that.
Did you talk to them so they know who we are? They would address
Oh,
them.
let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to mute. Sorry. Thank you all for attending this open house. I want to welcome you, those of you who are still just joining us. So my name is Jessica Barrett. I currently am the director of the pre-professional phase of the athletic training program, which we hope to have you all joining us in next fall. And I'm going to ask the other faculty members that are on the call with us to go ahead and introduce themselves. But before I do, I just wanted to kind of offer up that if you want to take your video off of darkness and show us your picture, that would be fantastic. We'd love to see your faces. If not, if you're having bandwidth problems or you'd rather just keep it to your name, that's totally fine. But please feel free to take it off and go ahead and show us your, oh, hi, thanks, nice. So we love to see your smiling faces, and we will take questions throughout. Please feel free to use the, hello, Tyler. Please feel free to use the chat if you have questions as I'm going along. Or if you want to take yourself off mute and shout something out, that's fine. But one of our faculty members, Mary, will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat. So I'll pass it over to Mary to go ahead and do her introduction.
Okay, thanks, Jess. Thanks for passing me the baton. My name is Dr. Mary Barnum, and I am the director of the current undergraduate athletic training program. We are in a transition, as you know, is that we have a current program that you get your bachelor's of science in athletic training, and those students are currently working their way out of the program. And so I'm overseeing that process, and I have been at Springfield for 31 years. And I'm really happy to be here tonight in this virtual world to be able to see everybody. So welcome to virtual Springfield College, AKA my kitchen.
All right, go ahead, Brett.
All right, folks, so welcome. I'm coming to you live from my basement. Really excited to have you on here tonight. Great to see some faces here. Look forward to having you on campus when we can do so. I currently serve as the clinical education coordinator, so I'm kind of bouncing between both programs, as Mary alluded to, but I am involved in anything and all things hands-on clinical-wise. I'm also an assistant professor in the undergraduate athletic training program currently, where I mainly teach in the areas of lower extremity assessment, general pathologies, and then I've spent most of my time here providing healthcare to our wrestling program. I believe this is my 8th or 9th year at Springfield College. I'm starting to lose track, but welcome. Great to see you all.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and share my screen. And so we're probably none of us, this is probably not your first time on Zoom, but what actually tends to happen if you're on a computer is it's going to take up your whole screen. So I just like to kind of give that warning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you don't want to see the whole screen, you can always hit the escape button. And that will allow you to just minimize your screen back to what you were already looking at. Okay. And so, as I said before, if you have questions, please feel free to use the chat, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself and shout it out. So we just had a little introduction. You heard from Mary, you heard from myself and Brett. We have some other faculty members that we want to also tell you about. So the dean of our school, so our school is called PEPSL, Physical Education, Performance, and Sport Leadership. Did I get that right? Yes? Awesome. So it's a new school name, just happened last year. And the dean of the PEPSL school, it actually was originally an athletic training faculty member. So we are very well represented in the administration of our school, and we're very proud of Sue, who's Dr. Geyer, who's now the dean. She still comes by the athletic training room. She swung by today and said hi to us. So we love when she stops by, but it's nice to know that we have her in that position, protecting us and helping us and working for us. Two other faculty members, Barkley Duggar is the head athletic trainer at Springfield College. He also is an associate professor. And Wayne Rodriguez is another athletic trainer. He does some clinical athletic training in the athletic training clinic, and then also is an assistant professor. He teaches some of our therapeutic intervention classes and also heads up our athletic rehab center that we have on campus. So you'll see, if you do come to campus, you'd likely see all of our faces in one shape or form. We'd hope if we ever get to a time when you can come visit us again. Also on the side of the screen, we have a little plug for our social media handles. So please feel free to follow us on Instagram. Brett handles the Instagram account, posts pictures of things we're doing in class and things that are happening with alumni. Mary runs the Facebook. So she'll post different things also about alumni, about what's happening in classes, and about things that are going on around campus. So please feel free to give us a follow, get to know a little bit more about the program that way. Okay, so you're probably here because you already know what athletic training is, but we just want to give you a little bit of an overview to make sure that that you understand the profession, that we're all kind of on the same page. So athletic training really functions under these domains. So there are 5 domains of athletic training, and you can see them listed here, ranging from injury and illness prevention and really promoting wellness. We have examination and diagnosis. Athletic trainers also work in emergency care. We have therapeutic interventions, as well as healthcare administration and professional responsibility. So in your athletic training classes, you will learn about all of these areas because this really forms the core foundation of what athletic trainers do. And within these different domains are lots of different skills that, that we break out and that we'll learn both hands-on and in classroom formats. And so, Mary or Brett, I also did want to say, jump in at any point if there's things that you want to share, and we can definitely go from there. So that's a little bit of a background on what an athletic trainer actually is, and those are the things that you're going to be learning about in our classes, so that when you graduate, you're able to go out and become a professional competent athletic trainer. Athletic trainers do not just work with sports or on the sidelines, right? Maybe you typically think of an athletic trainer being on the sidelines of a football game and running out when someone gets injured. absolutely 100% something that athletic trainers do. But we also really like to point out that athletic trainers work in a variety of settings. So you'll see some pictures here of a dancer, of a firefighter, right? Of someone working in an industrial setting. And so athletic trainers really have expanded into these settings to work with all physically active populations. So whether it's, helping postal service workers, or working in, there's athletic trainers working in Amazon warehouses with working on ergonomics and things like that. It's athletic trainers working with firefighters and police officers. Athletic trainers working and traveling with Cirque du Soleil dance companies all over the country and internationally. So really athletic trainers can be in a variety of places, and we're not just on the sidelines or just working with what you might typically think as an athlete, but a large, vast array of physically active populations. The other thing I didn't mention, athletic trainers in the military. So athletic trainers working on military bases and even on active duty, where troops are deployed, working with concussions and rehabilitations and things like that. So a variety of settings are available to you. And we try and make it a point to have those opportunities available for you as a student too. We're expanding our clinical education so that's possible that if you come to Springfield College and you're interested in working in one of these settings, we would definitely try and get those opportunities for you in an internship type opportunity. And Brett will definitely have plenty of time to talk about that as we get a little farther into the presentation. So, but just want to let you know that athletic trainers, we definitely are not just working with athletes as you may have at your high school, but are also working with a variety of physically active populations. Let's see. There's a list of some. We also like to talk quickly. Actually, this was a lecture that I gave in my 100 level class this morning. It was about the Athletic Training Strategic Alliance. And so I had the class broken out into breakout groups, and each group took one of these 4 organizations and taught about it. So I could have had them come teach this slide tonight. But so we have 4 primary organizations that assist with kind of the governance and the profession of athletic training. And so the first is the BOC, the Board of Certification, and they're responsible for the certifying exam that you take to become an athletic trainer. We'll talk a little bit more about the certifying exam in a few slides, but in order to be an athletic trainer, you do need to be certified, and passing that certification exam is the way to become certified. Another very important part of the BOC is consumer protection. So as you can see on the slide there at the bottom of that pillar, those 2 words, certification and 2 phrases, in consumer protection. So by knowing that by seeing that a person has the ATC credential, that they are an athletic trainer, you know that they have passed that certification exam, and that they are able to embody and engage in all of the skills necessary to be an athletic trainer. So they're able to perform all of the skills required of an athletic trainer. In most states, you have to also be licensed as an athletic trainer. There's one state where in California where you don't have to be licensed. But knowing that someone has a board of certified, that they are certified, really does give the public an understanding that that person has been educated and passed a certification exam. Next organization there is the CATIE. The CATIE is in charge of accreditation. So luckily for you, our program is accredited and will be accredited for the entire time that you would be engaged at the program. I think if I did that math quickly in my head. So generally about every 10 years, a program would go up for reaccreditation. Our program has been accredited for several years and has accreditation status, I believe, through 2027, 2028.
I think it's 26, 27.
26, 27. Yep.
Right, and we have been an accredited or an approved, or whatever kind of word you want to say, since 1975. Continuous accreditation.
Excellent. So the next organization on the next pillar that kind of on our strategic alliance is the NATA. NATA is, you might think of it somewhat as a trade organization. So they're really responsible for advocacy and professional development. So when you become a certified athletic trainer, you graduate from an accredited program and become a certified athletic trainer, you have the opportunity to become a member of the NATA. And the NATA is the group that's responsible for promoting the profession of athletic training and for offering various professional development opportunities to help you maintain your certification. And they also do a large amount of advocacy. So maybe you live in a state where athletic trainers are required on the sidelines of every football game, every high school football game. That happened because representatives from the NATA advocated to the state and to the legislature, to the governments, to try and ensure that athletic trainers could be on the sidelines, and to change laws and to help understand what athletic trainers do. So they're a great source of advocacy. And we really try and promote that professional development throughout our program and being a member of the NATA. The last one I'll talk about quickly, the NATA Research and Education Foundation. They're really, really important and instrumental in all of the research and scholarship that happens in our profession. So they give out hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships and in research grants every year. And so I told my students today, you know what, bookmark this website, go back and look at it. Maybe there's a scholarship or a research grant that you might be interested one day to really help grow the profession and help us all ensure that we keep learning and moving in the right direction as a profession. So that's a little bit about the Strategic Alliance. Like I said, I could talk about it for an hour because that's what I did in my lecture this morning at 9. So, but we'll move on. We won't keep talking about that stuff. We think the field of athletic training is great to get into because we love what we do. We know there's at least one parent on the call, and they're often always thinking about employment after graduation. So we like to throw this slide up here and talk about, you know, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics projected that athletic training was definitely poised to grow, right? Projected growth of 19%, more so than all occupations and even more so than other healthcare fields. So it's definitely an employment setting that is expanding and growing and will continue to do so, we believe, definitely for years to come. So lots of jobs available for graduates of our program. Another thing that's been rising over the last few years, in addition to jobs, is the actual job salary. So this is actually a couple of years old from which was the time when the NATA did the most recent salary survey. But you can see steadily over those 10 years how the salary grew quite exponentially. And so definitely something to look forward to. And it's not all about just making money. We always are happy that we love what we do every day. But, you know, the salary of athletic training has come from, you know, in the low 40s up to the high 50s. So it's really good to see that the job growth is also contributing to salary growth, which is nice to see. So let's get into the nuts and bolts, probably a little bit more about why you came. How do you actually become an athletic trainer? And so first thing is hopefully what you're all doing right now, apply to and be accepted into a CATIE accredited program. So we just talked about the CATIE, they accredit education programs. So apply and get accepted. We'll talk about how you can do that at Springfield College, I think on the next slide. But apply and get accepted, then graduate from that CATIE accredited program, and then pass the BOC examination. So 3 steps in front of you before you could move on to be an athletic trainer. So let's talk a little bit more about the admissions requirements. So how can you fulfill that first step? So apply and get admitted into a CATIE accredited program. So here at Springfield College, our program is competitive, right? We will get a lot of applicants. And one of the best things about our program is that it's a direct entry. So you don't have to go through a secondary admission status in your second year here or anything like that. So the program is competitive, but you're directly into our pre-professional athletic training program when you apply and get accepted. Some things that we look for: 3.0 GPA, 1150 or higher on the standardized test scores. We look for strong college prep and math coursework. So especially if those courses are AP credits, that's strongly recommended. And then we also require a letter of recommendation from an individual who can attest to your potential for success as a healthcare provider. We usually do also require documented observations. So we want you to have been able to see an athletic trainer working in the athletic training setting. We know that poses really extreme difficulties right now because a lot of athletic training settings may not be allowing guests or visitors, even though they're open and functioning. So for the next cycle, for your application cycle, we will not be requiring documented observations.
Jess?
Yes.
So regarding the SAT, there was some discussion that because the SAT is not being able to be administered as regularly as it has in the past, and that students are having a more difficult time taking the SAT, there was some discussion that if you are unable to take it, don't let that deter you from applying. You could have a discussion with the admissions counselor about that.
Awesome. That is a really good point. Yes. Thank you very much for reminding us all of that. That's awesome. So yeah, so if the SAT is, if like Mary said, if that's not something that you're able to get into right now, don't let that deter you. Please reach out and talk to one of us or talk to the admissions counselors, and we're happy to work with you through that. Really, really good point. So we do have a rolling deadline for application. So, you know, apply today and that would be great. But we have, the application is on the Springfield College website. It's through the Common Application. So go ahead and feel free to start taking a look at that anytime. So our program is what we call a 3+2 program. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that 3+2 means in a second. But essentially it means a 3-year Bachelor of Science degree, followed then by 2 years to get your Master of Science degree. And after that, you would be eligible to sit for that certification exam that we were previously talking about. If you happen to be on this call and you already have a master's, you already have a bachelor's degree, you happen to already have a bachelor's degree and you're on this call, we do offer just that 2-year program separately. Please send Mary a chat message if you fall into that category, and we can route you to an open house we're having later this month for just the master's program. But we're going to proceed today talking about the pre-professional into the professional program. So we break it up into 2 different phases. The pre-professional is 3 years, the professional is 2 years. At the end of that, you're eligible to sit for the certification exam, and we believe then you will be able to become a board certified athletic trainer, certified by the Board of Certification. So a little bit more about those phases. What do you have to look forward to in the first year, in the second year, and in the third year of that pre-professional phase? We have a core bunch of classes that we designed specifically to be aligned with the exercise science program on campus. So we have exercise science, applied exercise science, and you all would be in the exercise science pre-professional athletic training track. And so you would be in a cohort with the applied exercise science students. You'll take classes like exercise physiology, kinesiology, anatomy and physiology, physics, chemistry. So as you can see, a lot of sciences and a lot of labs. You'll take math and some psychology classes. You'll also be taking throughout these first few years our general ed or our core curriculum on campus. So that's just over 40 credits of general education classes. These include things like history, includes things like aesthetic expression courses, as well as the math and the English and the literature and things like that.
I would like to say that also what we've done, and it's been very intentional, that in our core curriculum, there are certain courses that we've pre-selected for you. So for example, healthcare ethics is a course that you would use to fulfill your spiritual and ethical requirement, but we've chosen that for you because we know it's going to help you develop as a healthcare professional. And there are classes like that throughout this first 3-year curriculum that are specifically chosen to help you develop yourself as a healthcare professional.
Awesome. Brett, did you want to talk really quickly about the clin ed that happens in the first year?
Yeah, that'd be great. So as Jess unveils the next 3 years here, you're going to see that we have you very heavily involved in a curriculum that's focused on exercise science and wellness. And so our goal here really is to prepare you as a wellness or a healthcare professional prior to entering the part 2 phase, if you will, that Jess will get into, which is really AT focused. And so we firmly believe here at Springfield College that early exposure to field work is key to your learning and your growth. And so we're excited to present to you in the second semester of your first year, your first clinical education opportunity. And that's going to be through PPAT 200. This is really going to be an opportunity for you to observe and to work in the field of athletic training and see what a day in life is like. Interact with some of our students who are currently going through clinical education as part of their professional phase program, but also to interact with some of our faculty, our staff, and our preceptors. And then as you see, we have, a clinical opportunity embedded throughout the first 3 years, not just that first year. And, some of these may be focused in AT, while others may also be focused in other areas of wellness or in healthcare. So really excited to give you a wide variety of exposure early on before we jump into those last 2 years where you're really heavily focused on hands-on clinical application of athletic training knowledge. And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit.
So that's what you have to look forward to in your first 3 years, what we call the pre-professional phase. So at the end of the first year, we exercise the exercise science pre-professional athletic training students who are in good standing and meet requirements are eligible to be accepted into the MSAT program. So essentially that means maintain a 3.0 GPA throughout that first 3 years, complete the core courses with a grade of B- or higher, and then make sure that you hold a current certification in CPR. And we will have a class where you will take the CPR, you'll take the CPR course with us. So we do give you the opportunity to get that certification. So you want to make sure that you have that as well. So as long as you meet these minimum requirements, you will automatically then go ahead and transition into the master's portion. What will happen is you'll work with your advisor to kind of complete this this real quick application here. And so you'll be assigned an athletic training advisor from the very first semester at Springfield College. It will be probably myself or Brett or Mary. So you've seen them all right now. And we will be working with you throughout your entire time at Springfield College. You'd never be assigned a different advisor outside of athletic training. So we'll be able to monitor your progress and ensure that your GPA is following along as it needs to, so that you can get into that you can transition successfully into the master's program. So we complete this sheet, which just verifies the academic standing and that your transcripts will be reviewed. And then you're cleared to begin into the professional phase of the program. In your fourth year at Springfield College, you will complete a mixture of both undergraduate level and graduate level courses. So you still have 18 credits that you'll complete toward the bachelor's degree, and then you'll start working on credits toward the master's degree. We've done this very strategically to ensure that fourth year, you still will only have to pay the fee of the undergraduate tuition level. Okay, and so that 4 years, all those first 4 years, you're paying at the undergraduate tuition level, and there's only 1 year, that fifth year, where you're actually paying at the graduate tuition level. So we've intentionally scheduled it this way to make sure that you can maintain that level of the undergraduate tuition price point, which again is typically something that people like to hear.
Just
so
I would
let's talk.
add that,
Oh,
if I could, the benefit of staying in that undergraduate bracket for tuition is also the availability of federal funding from a loan perspective. So you'll be able to still apply for FAFSA and student loan assistance through that fourth year, which becomes a little bit more difficult when you get into graduate programs. So that's certainly, hopefully, a benefit for you moving forward.
So the professional phase actually starts in the summer. So it would start in the summer between your third and fourth years. In that first summer semester, you're going to take some specific core classes such as anatomy and physiology. We're very proud of, and Mary could maybe talk a little bit more about our cadaver anatomy lab. She currently teaches the anatomy classes. Anything you have to say about our cadaver lab, Mary? Put you on the spot.
Sure. With our it's human clinical anatomy, we're very fortunate to be able to go into our lab, and we have donors, teacher donors, who we are able to actually put your hands on the body and touch the muscles and the ligaments and the joints and the nerves that we're learning about in our assessment classes. And it's very integrated with what we're learning in human clinical anatomy with what's happening in our assessment courses. And it just prepares you to move forward, because anatomy is the basis of everything we do with the human body.
Yeah, another great thing about that anatomy class is you really have the opportunity for interprofessional education with some of the other healthcare fields on our campus. So you'll be in a lecture that may include physical therapy and occupational therapy students. So it's a great way to get to know other students in allied health professions on our campus. You'll also start taking some of those master's level athletic training courses. So we have a course that's based on prevention and wellness principles in that summer. We have a course that's based on some therapeutic interventions and some of the fundamental portions of therapeutic interventions as well. And you'll be able to start your first clinical education courses and really practice some of those hands-on athletic training skills. We do have another slide after this, Brett, if you want to wait and talk about all of the ClinEd together, or do you want to talk about each one individually?
Yeah, I think I'll just take this opportunity really quick to showcase that we really pride ourselves in giving you the opportunity to learn the theory in the classroom and then have that immediate ability to transfer that information and that knowledge into a laboratory and then into an actual clinical setting where you're working with real human patients. So we are excited about the opportunity to expand our clinical offerings, and I'll save that portion for the next slide.
So in year 4, again, still taking some of the undergraduate to maintain that undergraduate tuition level, and as Brett mentioned, the funding and the financial aid that might be available to you. This is where you'll also start taking your assessment courses. So we have the assessment courses broken up into 4 different areas. You'll take one specific to lower extremity, one specific to upper extremity, another course specific to the head, neck, and spine, and then another course specific to general medical conditions. Okay, and so each one of those courses, you'll go over the assessment, diagnosis of injuries, as well as the treatment and the care of those of treating people who are suffering from those injuries. So that will happen in year 4. The next summer, oh, I almost forgot the most exciting thing at the end of year 4, right? This is when you actually earn your Bachelor of Science degree, right? So you will, yeah, Brett's giving you the clapping emoji. So you will then be going through graduation at the end of this year with earning your Bachelor of Science degree. You'll go right into that summer to take a few other courses here. In this summer term, all of the courses are designed to be taken online. So you'll have the opportunity to take courses, to take those courses from maybe not just right on campus, but maybe from another location, maybe somewhere where you're doing a different internship or clinical education experience. But you don't have to stay on campus that summer. We have those classes. Those classes will be virtual. And then in the last year, you will have your final capstone courses. We also have arranged this 5th year to allow you for 1 semester of not being on Springfield College's campus. So Brett will talk about this in the clinical education slides, but we have given you the opportunity to be very flexible in that 5th year, so that if you wanted to do an internship, say in New York or in Florida or in another state, our curriculum will allow you to travel and really maximize any opportunity that we can find for you, while still taking classes in an online format and being attached and connected to us on campus. Upon completion of that 5th year, then you will have earned your Master's of Science in Athletic Training, and for the 2nd year in a row, you'll get to go to a graduation ceremony, which will be very exciting, again, with a little different gown this time, I think. A little different graduation process, but then you'll have earned your Master of Science degree. That makes you eligible to take that certification exam and then go out and become a gainfully employed athletic trainer. So if we take, we just took a pretty good walk through all of those classes with the focused content that we're going to give in the 2-year master's degree. We also embed a lot of opportunities for you to engage in professional development. So one of the things that our students tend to really like going to is the Eastern Athletic Trainers Association conference. So you'll see on there conference attendance, even professional presentations. You'll have the opportunity to do case studies and write other papers that may be eligible for submission to present at some of these conferences. And so our students really enjoy going to the conferences that are located in the state of Massachusetts and even regionally throughout the New England region. And so we really do promote networking with our alumni and networking at those conferences, as well as the professional presentations. I will go to the next slide and pass it over to Brett to talk about our clinical curriculum.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And, I will go back just a quick slide. We don't typically brag on ourselves too often, but for those of you who maybe just joined our social network, you may see that, that the most recent EATAs, it was a really great showing for Springfield College. We had undergraduate athletic training students presenting posters. We had our graduate students doing great work there, to include majority of our faculty and even our team physician as presenters. And so we like to think that we remain involved in the profession as best as possible, whether it be serving or presenting at state, local, and regional. And we do our best to get our students involved as much as possible. And I think that's really a unique piece of our program. And as someone who didn't come from Springfield College, it's probably one of my favorite components, is seeing the family come together, if you will, during some of those professional opportunities. So just wanted to throw that in there. Now onto the clinical curriculum, and this is really where the fun begins for me. So once you get into that 2-year program, right, we're really focused on athletic training. And the unique part about moving our degree to the master's program is that you've already completed your core curriculum or general education requirements. And we really have a stronger control of the curriculum as a whole. And so that allows us to make some more autonomous decisions as a program, which really in essence gives us more freedom to give you more opportunity when it comes to your hands-on clinical experiences. So in that 2 years, starting in that first summer, we're gonna allow you to partake in 6 clinical practicum experiences. And each one will be focused particularly on a certain set of content that will hopefully will line with some of the theory that you're learning in the classroom. And so we're looking at a total of 51 weeks of hands-on clinical experiences. And as Jess alluded to, some of these clinical experiences will be happening while you're also taking classes physically on campus. And this is what we call our integrative clinical experiences. So you may be in lecture during the morning and in lab in the middle of the day, and then you may have a 2 or 3 hour opportunity in a clinic, whether that be here on Springfield College's campus in our athletic training clinic, or at an abundance of sites that we have here within the local community. And those include local high schools from inner city to preparatory and private schools. We also are involved with local Division I and Division III NCAA programs. We recently just acquired some clinical opportunities with the Bolshoi Ballet, which is in the performing arts area. And Mary probably doesn't know this yet, but we also recently solidified an agreement with Cheshire Medical this morning, which is not too far down the road from here, which will give us some opportunities in more of a physician practice type area. However, as you progress to that second year, as you heard, you might have the opportunity to take some classes online, or you might have the ability to choose a semester in which you want to be on campus, finishing up some coursework and doing some rehabilitative specific practicum experiences, or you might want to go and do what we call an immersive experience. And that's where we're going to allow you to really dive into what a day in the life, what a week in the life, what I think 12 weeks is the time frame we have it set up for in the life of an athletic trainer's like. And so our hope is that by the time we get to this immersive experience, we've provided you with an opportunity in the area of athletic training that you think you're interested in terms of pursuing for your first job. So perhaps you've got your mind set on being a high school athletic trainer. We're hopeful that we can get you plugged in with a high school final immersive experience. Or perhaps you might want to work in the professional ranks, or perhaps you're very intrigued by the emerging settings that Jess talked about, whether it be in performing arts, whether it be in industrial setting, with our public safety officers like the FBI, the military, firefighter, et cetera. So again, really excited about the opportunity to expand our clinical offerings that comes with this. And, it really does opportunity to provide you with nationwide clinical opportunities. And I think we have a slide coming up shortly, but we are extremely proud of our alumni network. We're an extremely small school up in Western Massachusetts, but we have a really, really far reach. The name Springfield College carries a lot of weight in the profession. And as you can see here, we have just a few of our alumni who have done some magnificent things. And we're in talks with the Boston Red Sox, for instance. In terms of opportunities for clinical experiences, we had a student work for the New England Patriots as a senior athletic training student. So the sky's the limit, we think. We're excited for you to come and share with us your interest and your desires, in terms of growth in this field. And we're going to do our best to make sure that our clinical offerings can match that. So, Jess, I'm not sure if you want me to kind of talk through this slide, or maybe we can pass it to Mary, as she might know a few more of these folks. I believe that's Dustin Flynn. Is that correct, Mary, at the top? So
that's Dustin Flynn. And
The Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues, I believe in 2016, 2017.
And I will say that his college roommate is now a professor of athletic training at UNC Chapel Hill. So one's going into professional sports and one into professional education.
And they both graduated in the same class as me, so.
We have Scott Gallen in the top right. He works with the Portland Sea Dogs, so he's part of the Red Sox franchise. And if you'll see, you skip down, you can see Brad Pearson there with, I don't really follow baseball, but that's the Red Sox, right?
Dustin Pedroia, looks like, yeah.
Yeah. And so we have Kristen from like 2000.
She graduated a year after me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's down in Florida working with professional basketball.
Awesome. So we're really proud of our alumni, and we have obviously alumni that don't work in professional sports also, but sometimes we like to share the marquee names and the marquee sports and things like that. But we're really fortunate to have a really strong family that we can always call out to offer, internships, clinical education experiences, networking, mentoring relationships, really all over the country. So and even probably throughout the world at this point. So I think that's definitely enough of our talking here. I definitely want you to make sure that you get down our email addresses. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. I will also say, Mary put in the chat, and I believe you can see there's a form we'd like you to fill out if you have a chance to let us know that you attended, but also please feel free to take down our emails. And I'm gonna stop the screen share in a second because we want to definitely open up and ask that give you time to ask any questions that you may have. We can, I'll share our email addresses in the chat, but we'll open the floor for anyone who has any questions. Any questions?
Feel free to put your questions in the chat. I know Mary's monitoring that as well, so we can have her read those if perhaps you're a little shy on the Zoom, which is understandable.
And so something I would like to check in with everyone is that when thinking about getting your athletic training degree at Springfield College, we have the 3+2, and there's this thing called the exercise science pre-professional athletic training and exercise science applied exercise science. Does anybody have any questions about how those two tracks are different?
No
I can see someone Alyssa's shaking her head. So, so with the exercise science, applied exercise science, that's a track that will take you into more of the wellness and performance enhancement and performance competition area. They might go into strength and conditioning coaching. They may go into exercise physiology. They might be working with in cardio labs. They might be working in sports performance gymnasiums, things like that. So whereas the exercise science athletic training track gives you that whole wellness and performance development background, but then prepares you for a medical background as well. So we do have a question. The student was that I go to an IB school and I was wondering if Springfield accepts IB credits, so the International Baccalaureate, and the answer is yes.
Awesome. So you could reach out to Mary or to the admissions staff. There's a link in the chat about wanting to speak with your admissions counselor. So they would definitely be able to help you with transferring or with accepting any of those credits. Good question.
Mary, I'm very impressed. I was going to have to ask what IB stood for.
I had to learn that because a student asked me in one of these forums before.
Not our first rodeo, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, so this is a good question, and it has to do with if you're if your goal is to obtain a position in professional sports, do you have to have dual certification as an athletic trainer and a physical therapist? There are some professional sports where that is a requirement, and there are other sports where it's not. So it depends on the sports setting that you're going into. Lots of professional sports will employ both. The athletic trainers are typically the ones that will be on the sidelines, the ones that will be at practices, the ones that will be traveling, where the physical therapist primarily will stay at the home stadium and do clinic type of treatments. But Jess and Brett, as clinical coordinators, might have a little bit more in-depth answer or more knowledge.
Depends, as Mary alluded to, on what type of professional sport you want to go into. And one thing I will say is that they're often seeking both. And the unique thing about athletic training is we have the opportunity to gain advanced certifications in various areas. And so, you know, for instance, we have a recent alum who works for the AHL. And one thing that he found very beneficial in his development and growth towards achieving a position there was to get more experience in massage therapy. So, you know, professional baseball, it actually has nothing to do with healthcare. They actually would prefer you be bilingual. So it really does depend on what sport you're looking to get into. But I will say this, that we have folks who we can put you in contact with who have experience at these various levels in these various sports, and they could probably certainly give you very much a specific roadmap for what it would take to get to that goal.
Yeah, I would say one of probably a very important aspect of getting to work for a professional sports team, while not maybe being dual credentialed, would be the networking opportunities and knowing someone in that field. And so as we were alluding to, you know, we know the importance of making those connections. And so we really strive to put you in a position. If we know, Alyssa, that's where you want to head, and you get the professional sport that's right for you, and we really want to try and put you in that position to be able to continue to work your way up in that field and to gain that spot that you want.
And I would even say that begins your first semester in our program. And I used to teach the Introduction to Athletic Training class. Jess is teaching it now. But I'm going to guess that part of assignment in her class and an assignment in Brett's clinical class will be pairing you with working athletic trainers. You'll be interviewing people in the field. And lots of times we will try and pair you with someone who works in a field that you're interested in working in. So it may start your very first semester at Springfield College to start your networking, building your network.
I could share a really brief story. We had a senior who was delivering milk, and I didn't even realize that was still a thing that people did up in the summer in New Hampshire during the summer. And our head athletic trainer got a call from the New England Patriots saying, hey, we're looking for an athletic training student who's interested in doing an internship. You know, our network helped his network, and we were able to place a student out there. And for his entire senior fall semester, whenever the Patriots were playing at home, our student was out there on the sidelines. So it was about, you know, promoting himself through those 4 years. We knew that he would be a great fit. And when we got the call, we recommended that this particular student go out there. So, you know, it really is about knowing your network. So thank you for saying that, Jess, and good point, Mary.
All right, y'all, if there's not any other questions. Oh, there's a question.
I know
Yeah,
this is my one job. What year do internships start?
Question. And so again, we really value the opportunity to get you hands-on or at least internship-based clinical experiences early. So those first 3 years are going to be more observation in nature. However, that summer between your 3rd and 4th year, when you start to take some of our MSAT courses, we're going to get you involved in that August with some preseason experience and get you a taste of your first hands-on clinical practicum experience. So when it comes to the curriculum as a whole, we're going to get you involved all 5 years, but your hands-on athletic training specific set are going to be implemented in between that 3rd and 4th year and throughout the remainder of your time in our master's program.
I do want to emphasize, however, that in your 2nd and 3rd year, you are doing hands-on applied exercise science coursework or clinical fieldwork. So you will be put in settings where applied exercise science specialists usually work, and this is where you're learning how to teach corrective exercises and make sure that people are doing the exercises correctly. You're designing performance programs. You're learning how to engage with clients, and those are hands-on experience. So while the first pre-professional athletic training fieldwork, your first year is observational and interactional, your hands-on exercise science internships are your second year and your third year, and then your hands-on athletic training start your fourth year. Would that be accurate, would you say, Brett?
Point. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, we are approaching the 8 o'clock hour, so I want to be sensitive to all your time. We really appreciate all of you zooming in with us tonight and hearing what we had to say about our program. Again, if you didn't have a chance, please fill out the form that Mary had posted in the Zoom so that we can make sure we have your attendance noted. And please take note of our email addresses. Do not hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions. And we look forward to hearing from you all soon.
Jess, would it be okay if anybody wanted to talk one-on-one afterwards? They could just hang out and the three of us or four of us could talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang out.
All right, then otherwise, yeah, thank y'all thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks. Nice shirt.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. All right.
Stop recording.